strange lights in the sky.
Look, it's lit. I have no idea what that was.
Objects moving at incredible speeds, breaking the laws of physics.
That shot down to the ground at light speed.
Craft from another world.
They're real. They're here. The truth is out there, and we need to know.
Can anyone discover the truth behind UFOs? January, 8 p.m., Winsted, Connecticut.
What the hell is that thing?
Shoppers in a downtown mall spot something in the evening sky.
It's moving. You got it, Pat?
The event, like so many nowadays, is recorded on mobile phones.
Unbelievable.
It's posted onto an internet video sharing site. It's the latest example of an unidentified flying object, a phenomenon that seems to defy explanation.
I don't know what it is.
Or does it? UFO sightings like this one are reported in their thousands every year, and not just in America. They happen all over the world.
No airports around here. It's unexplained.
From Rio, London, Paris, and New York, UFOs are a global phenomenon, a global mystery. For the past 60 years,
Whoa, I'm getting a series of lights right there. I got it.
wherever and whenever unidentified flying objects have been spotted in the sky, they've hit the headlines.
Right now, the biggest thing on YouTube is the Israeli UFO, which was UFO on top of a sacred temple.
Is that UFO? Amazing. Holy.
And you can see it sitting on top of it, and then it just shut off at light speed. I looked at a video many times. I think it's real.
UFO sightings like these fire the imagination of enthusiasts all over the world
We've seen them in Mississippi like this, but never.
and fuel investigations to discover what these mysterious objects really are. In Rachel, Nevada, a small group of men and women who hunt down the clues to help identify strange objects in the sky are gathering. Leader of the pack is Alex Podovich.
We actually hunt UFOs. We have regular meetings that we go out in the field, and we set up our equipment and cameras, whatever we have, and we watch the skies. And sometimes you do see very strange things in the sky.
Unusual objects in the sky like this are what these guys spend hours analyzing.
A UFO is something that you cannot identify. It could be our own or it could be alien. It's just an object in the sky that you can't tell for sure what it is. You know, a lot of people associate it with the alien craft, but it's not true. It could be anything in the sky. That's what the term means.
It's just a phenomena that does not go away. It's kind of like a snowball, and it just gets bigger and bigger. And it's very enjoyable.
Pat Travis knows all about UFOs. She's the owner of the Little Ailey Inn in the Nevada desert, the unofficial capital of ufology. It's a mecca for UFO hunters for a good reason.
There has been a lot of sightings of craft, of phenomena that no one can explain. There's been craft that have done maneuvers so fast that it's unbelievable. I believe that we cannot be the only beings in this entire magnificent universe. It has to be more. I will always believe that.
She thinks UFOs are alien, a view held by some who investigate sightings.
First of all, they're real. They're here. And the truth is that they created us We need to know as a human race where we came from, what our origins are.
Discovering the truth has been the focus of ufologists for decades, but it's not easy. UFOs are not something called up on demand.
The holy grail for UFO hunters is finding a real flying saucer, or a ship, I should say, taking pictures of it, touching it, or getting a physical alien that you can shake hands with and take pictures.
Today, Alex and his crew are taking a trip down Nevada's extraterrestrial highway to try to find a UFO.
It is always an excitement to go out on a hunt. It's another possibility that I may find something that I've been looking for so many years. We are driving towards the mailbox, the infamous mailbox. They used to be black, and now it's white.
The mailbox is a destination that's passed into UFO folklore. It's a location that's had more than its fair share of UFO sightings.
This is the famous mailbox, the white mailbox. And these are the UFO hunters. They'll be with us here tonight. Hopefully we'll find something up in the sky.
This UFO hunt is a challenge that's brought the group in plain sight of the security forces that monitor movement around one of the most secretive places on Earth. A US Air Force operating location near Groom Lake, Nevada. Better known as Area 51.
I can see a tower up on the hill, up on the mountain, and it's probably a radar out there also. Behind that ridge is the installation, and about 9 miles south of it is S4. That's where supposedly all the alien craft is being flown. It's right there. We're probably being watched right now from that tower. They know we're here, and they may show up later at night to see what we're taping. They usually do that. If they see people with cameras, they'll come out and investigate what's going on.
According to ufologists, this is the place where the government keeps its flying saucers. Physical proof that alien craft are real and they're here on Earth. The incredible claim made headlines in the late 1980s, thanks to this man.
I'm Bob Lazar.
In 1988, physicist Bob Lazar told friends he'd seen flying saucers when he was working on a top-secret project at Area 51.
There is physical evidence which proves that there is life elsewhere.
Bob's job was to see if he could reverse engineer this propulsion system. Now remember, this is the...
John Lear's been a friend of Lazar's for over 20 years. He was one of the first he told about seeing America's flying saucers.
I met Bob Lazar in 1988, and the first thing he said to me is, "I saw a disc today." And I'm sitting here writing, and I'm going, "What?" He said, "I saw a disc today." And I said, "Theirs or ours?" He said, "Theirs."
But that vehicle is a disc, which is generally referred to as a flying saucer.
And he told me that when he first saw it, there was an American flag on it, and he thought, well, this explains everything. We've got saucers, it's ours, we developed it. That's where all those rumors are coming from. But then he got to see inside of it, and there was little teeny seats, which were just about this big. And that's when it became all too clear to him that this was an alien craft.
The admission by an Area 51 insider caused a media storm. Flying saucers were real and being hidden by the government.
What they do is pump protons into the 115. It's my opinion that nothing we have developed has been without ET influence or technology.
If UFOs and flying saucers are real and being kept in secret bases in the Nevada desert, it begs a series of questions. What are they for? And where and when did America get its hands on them? The Las Vegas UFO hunters are out looking for UFOs. They've gone high-tech. They're using a sensitive array of infrared and low-light cameras in the hope that it will help them capture images of unknown objects in the sky.
This equipment is generally used for surveillance in very, very dark environments. Some of them use existing light. They can operate even from starlight. The other one is a traditional green night vision camera, which amplifies light. So if anything comes from that direction towards us and it emits light, we'll see it.
Even before the cameras are up and running, Alex spots something in the sky.
You can see the contrail, and that looks like probably an F-16.
What do you think we're going to see out here tonight?
Well, I'm hoping to see something that was engineered back, reverse engineered from alien technology. Almost ready.
Almost there.
If you had the infrared, we may be able to see some things that we can't see with our eyes. Maybe they're
not
still
supposed to be seeing.
We're not supposed to be seeing. So that gives us a chance to look behind the veil.
Is this legal?
Yeah, perfectly legal.
Okay.
You're on public land.
Okay.
If you get arrested, you don't know me.
If a UFO is spotted, the hunters have the equipment to capture images of the craft in intricate detail. If they do, it will be a huge moment.
We need to make it work. These are our eyes tonight.
Well, that was close.
Hopefully we'll see some strange lights up there that move in kind of a zigzag way or moving really fast. Look over here, this way. I hope to see a spaceship actually, if it's possible.
In the darkness, the hunters spot something off in the distance.
Is that thing right over there?
It's too dark for conventional cameras to pick out. But what about the low-light ones?
It was just moving. It disappeared.
It dropped like a stone right over there.
Oh, it was a big light.
Oh, that was beautiful. Look, it's lit.
Right there, right there.
You see him? He's orangey red.
1 o'clock.
Has the infrared and low-light camera rig captured it?
Okay. Now this just happened. Right above the 2, you'll see on our third camera, a light comes up. And then right here is another one. And they both stay up for just about the same amount of time and then disappear. Not moving, they were stationary. And they were there and then they were gone. And that was not a pixel on the screen, that was not a malfunction.
They've spotted something, but they don't know what it is. They hope it could be a flying saucer they believe America keeps hidden away in the desert. It's a notion that's deeply established within UFO circles. A theory that began with the greatest and most controversial flying saucer incident of them all. July the 8th, 1947. The place, Roswell. Debris is discovered on a cattle ranch in New Mexico. But it isn't just any old stuff. Eyewitnesses say the wreckage consists of foil that returns to its shape after being crumpled up, and weird, alien-looking writing on beam members. A UFO legend is born. But in a U-turn 24 hours later, Roswell's flying saucer is claimed to be a weather balloon, and a controversy has raged ever since.
The interesting thing about the Roswell story is that regardless of whose side of the story you believe, the Air Force, the UFO research community, everybody agrees that some sort of object or device came down and was recovered. Now, the big question is, what's being covered up?
But you still get a lot of interest. I mean, the people still come out here and want to know what happened.
There's still a little interest. People still come.
Nick Redfern is just one of many who have investigated the most famous UFO case of them all.
So Eddie, we're pretty much at the crash site right now. Can you kind of explain?
I think one of the main reasons why people are so interested in and fascinated by UFOs is primarily because there's always a yearning for people to look for mysteries. You know, people love mysteries, whether it's UFOs, a Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, ghosts. People love a real-life mystery. And I think when, as I do believe with UFOs, there is a genuine mystery, that makes it even more intriguing.
No physical proof that a flying saucer came down in New Mexico has ever been produced. But the rumors that one did began a modern mythology.
So Eddie, this is really where all the evidence was brought. What happened was that when flying saucer sightings began in '47, it was something totally new. Never been seen before, so people were fascinated by it.
The Roswell UFO incident set the scene for an incredible explosion in sightings across America. Over the next 50 years, UFOs grew into a global phenomenon. And now, the reason why is about to emerge. The late 1940s marks the start of America's fascination with UFOs. An obsession that coincided with its Cold War with the Soviet Union. It was a period when America started seeing a lot more unidentified flying objects.
The biggest trauma for post-war America in the 50s was the appearance of Sputnik in the sky. Once you get a space race starting, you begin to get this huge rash of UFO technologies being sighted.
The atomic age and the space race fed an increasingly popular sci-fi genre. And soon America was awash with B-movies featuring UFOs and invaders from outer space.
With films like Earth versus the Flying Saucers or The Day the Earth Stood Still, you begin to get an absolutely clear interrelationship between the kind of sightings that you get in the real world and the B-movie flying saucers of the 1950s.
In the 50s, this popular culture became reality. UFO sightings were on the rise. And the US military refused to acknowledge that they were responsible.
The recent sightings are in no way connected with any secret development by any agency of the United States.
But that's not true.
Back in the 1950s, the Air Force, there's no doubt, was working on projects to try and build circular-shaped aircraft. One of these was known as the Avro car. You know, it looked pretty cool, like this silver, shiny, flying saucer.
At the height of the Cold War, both the Soviets and Americans were building experimental machines they hoped could win global supremacy. America's Avro car was one such experiment.
It's a very sexy-looking machine with a bubble dome. Never went higher than a couple feet off the ground, despite having about 3,000 horsepower.
The Avro car inspired Paul Moller, an engineer, to build his own version of a flying saucer.
I do think it invokes the image of that little Jetson type of machine that we saw in the 60s that had the bubble dome and that freedom to move around in the future the way they did. That was very big in America, and I think it drives the interest of people to do it. Well, putting this canopy down really puts you into a very comfortable world.
Dr. Paul Mahler flying the M200X.
Paul Moller is one of only a handful of people who can claim to have flown a real flying saucer.
The OMC rotary engines developing.
It's truly a magic carpet sensation. When you're in a helicopter, there's a lot of vibration, number one. And number two, you have the sense you're being lifted from above. This machine here is absolutely no vibration. The rotary engine is like a soy machine engine. The power comes from below you. And it's a totally different sensation, not supported by anything that you sense. It's really amazing. It's absolutely magic carpet sensation.
But in a time before widespread use of computer-assisted stabilization, these cumbersome craft carried considerable risk.
Start up!
The problem on Earth is the aerodynamics. The air flowing around the vehicle generates a lift configuration, which is destabilizing. Now, you can put a big tail on it, of course, and that'll make it aerodynamically stable, but that's kind of a funny machine. Round machine with a big fat tail. That doesn't make sense. So, artificial stabilization. When you're not dealing with the atmosphere, when you're outside of the atmosphere, of course, round is the perfect shape. Structurally, it does everything you want. It has all the right things. We just got to get rid of the atmosphere.
From an engineering point of view, America's attempts to build a fully operational flying saucer in the 1950s and 60s failed. The project's success was in its propaganda value. America's UFOs were a weapon of sorts.
I think one of the bigger issues relative to UFOs is the realization on the part of the military that, hey, this is a phenomenon we can actually use to our advantage. If you imagine at the height of the Cold War, you subtly release information to the Kremlin that, hey, we've got a crash flying saucer and we've actually begun to understand how and why it flies. That could actually spook the enemy.
America's UFOs were propaganda tools, never a serious military threat. Their primary purpose was to mislead foreign intelligence.
It acts as a good cover. The deep military projects to build highly advanced aircraft and platforms gets buried amongst a huge mass of stories of back engineering and super secret X-Files type conspiracies, and while we're all running around following them, the real military secrets gets hidden.
We now know that rumors which claimed the US was developing its own UFOs were intended to hide something else. But what? Maybe the Las Vegas UFO hunters can help find the answer. They've recorded an unidentified flying object on their equipment. Now they need to discover what it is.
Yeah, it's freaking out.
Peter Merlin knows a lot about what goes on in the sky over the desert. He says that evidence of UFOs in the sky can often be found on the ground.
One of the things people see around Area 51 are strange configurations of lights in the sky, glowing golden orbs, things like that. A lot of the time they're seeing these things. This is an Air Force anti-infrared flare. It provides a heat source to decoy heat-seeking missiles. And they look very strange to people on the ground because they seem to hang in the air or move in strange ways with the air currents while glowing and sputtering. The deserts are littered with thousands of these things. These account for a lot of the unusual light sightings in the night sky over Nevada.
But Las Vegas's finest don't buy that explanation of what they've seen. They think it doesn't fit.
It moved. That light moved.
It's blinking
right there.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, it's on and just faded out. There's a lot of military aircraft up there right now. They're doing the exercises and they're dropping flares.